That's not how the song goes. I know, dude, but I'm in standard tuning here. And, going from memory, that's about as good as we're going to get. What's up, dudes? Let's talk about it today. It's about, today's video, direct amp captures and IRs versus capturing the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole amp and cabinet all in one. A lot of people got a lot of opinions about this. I got some opinions too, and I want to show you some cool tones. Everything I'm playing today is available at the link down below in the description. We got a whole free 65 Deluxe Reverb pack that just sounds like $1,000,000. I dig that tone, man. That is 65 Deluxe Reverb D. Check it out. D, V for vibrato. So D for direct, V for vibrato. OD, because I sound like 6 and it's kind of broken up. It's overdriven. That's how I name stuff. And then over here, we've got this free IR that also will be in the link down below. TJ65 Deluxe 112 Utah 121 545 WRM. What the heck does that mean? Tone Junkie. 67 Deluxe cabinet. 112, it's the Deluxe Reverb cabinet, right? Utah, it's the blue Utah Fender branded blue label speaker. 121 545, that's a Royer 121 and an SM 545, warm because I'm rolling off the top end there and we get this beautiful. It just sounds, come on. I love that. Man, put just a little bit a tube screamer on that and you got this thing. It's just a singer, man. It's a singer. And I ain't talking about a sewing machine. I'm talking about this thing just... It's just a singer, bro. That's a singer. Come on, download that down below. That one's free, man. It's all free. Anyway, let's talk about it. Amp and cab versus directs. I see a lot of opinions about this. I see a lot of people talking about it. I even see some people saying one's more accurate than the other. I got to be honest. I have a strong opinion about this, but my opinion is you can make either one sound like $1,000,000, but they're going to sound different, right? I picked this thing up and I go, here's the IR and it sounds great. And I had to do a little work here. I brought down the bass. I pushed up the mid-range to get this sort of like quacky voice. Let me take off these effects. I had a tube screamer on there. That sounds brilliant. That sounds beautiful. Bringing down the presence and bringing down a little bit of that depth so I don't have as much low end. Bass is pretty much uniform. I got the mid-range cranked. And compare that to this, which is just shot way different, but it's got the cabinet built in. You know what I'm saying? That's got just a little more heft, a little more everything. You know what I mean? Here's like my favorite from this free pack, and I love the sound of this V clean. This has the cab built in. That's a beautiful sound. I love that. That's what I want out of deluxe reverb. On the neck. But it is very mid-rangey. It is very sort of focused sound. And that right there is where it fits the best to me. You get those in-between sounds with that mid-range. It's got that honk, that push. That's what I really like. But the thing is, I'll tell you, to get that honk and push, you've got to adjust the microphones to really be, off of that center kind of thing. And that gets you a little more muted sound on the top end. And so when we compare that to something else where maybe we started with an IR that was a little more of a neutral setting, maybe it wasn't in the same spot, because when you make an IR, here's the real basis of my opinion here. When you make an IR, you're making it sort of in a vacuum because all the possible amps that you could put into that speaker and mic setup are in front of you, right? So like, when you move mics around, they have profound differences on the sound. And so when you have an amp going into a speaker, you can then go, here's where I like my EQ, and you can then begin to adjust. Do I want a more mid-rangey sound, go away from the center? Do I want a more bright sound? Do I want to move towards the speaker or back and get a more bassy sound? Or do I want to pull it back, maybe get some air, some room in there? And you can angle the mic, you can go off axis and take away some of that directy kind of sound. But all of that assumes that if you're darkening something, if you want more mid-range, you want more than you have currently, because currently you have an amp running into it and you're listening at the spot you're at. If you're just miking it up, which is kind of what I do when I make IRs, is like, here's a go-to sound. You're going to have to make some adjustments because you're going to pair it with this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. So there's all these possibilities. So sometimes I hear people say like, oh, these IRs are really good or those IRs are really good. And I just think like, well, it really matters just what you put into it, And sometimes I think maybe people are talking about, oh, they're really good for just the stock sounds in the Helix. They match really well with that. And I feel that way about my IRs. But when I come right in here, I'm having to add some mid-range. You know what I'm saying? So here's my direct clean. Nice. Here's how I did it. That IR is from a year ago, and here's how I did it just a couple weeks ago. Now you can hear there, the presence is a little higher on the one with the IR. I probably was closer to the middle of the cone. On this one, I was definitely purposely getting away from the cone because I wanted to make a very thick deluxe reverb. In the past, I've put these deluxe reverbs for free. I made an older version, V1, and I made an older version where people loved them. If you're on Quad Cortex, they're the #1 downloaded amp on Cortex Cloud. People have loved them. They love pairing them with other amps on the Quad Cortex. I've had it out for Kemper for years. Like, I've done this amp so many times. I know it so well. My only goal with doing these this time was I wanted to make it nice and thick and mid-rangey so that you didn't need to pair it with anything else. You didn't feel like it was a wimpy deluxe reverb. And so you hear the bass in there. And so how do we do that? We use a little more of the 121. We use a little more of the mic that's going to give us more bass. We might even bump the bass up a little. I have a little bit of bass push at about 80, giving it just a little bit of heft. I'm close enough to get some proximity effect to get more bass. Okay, that gives it a certain tone. But when we compare that to my little more of my go-to tone, or my go-to kind of IR for this thing, with then a direct capture of the speaker, well, I'm missing a lot of mid-range, so I have to bump it up. I'm more towards the center of the cone, and so maybe I would have, lowered the amp, but I don't know what microphone people are using in their IRs. I don't know what IR they're going to use, so I go pretty neutral settings on a deluxe reverb, and a deluxe reverb can be on the brighter side. To me, that is a little more present, a little more squawky, and I really like it, It's got a really beautiful, just present quality that is just so articulate. And with that middle position on a Strat, I'm going to go to the OD version. But if I go back to this version right here where I clearly had something I was trying to do, I even have room. I could scoop these mids down a little bit and bump up this presence, and I'm still okay. I mean, that is just a thick, really beautiful, lovely Strat tone, and I've got nothing else on there. It's just the amp overdriven. And often you do not find Fenders that are just that kind of thick and beautiful sounding. Now, because I'm pairing two things together that I had no knowledge of each other when I was making them, if you roll that presence up, it doesn't sound bad, but it might just be a little more present than you really want. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's exactly what you want. You know what I'm saying? And that is the thing. When you make a direct capture and an IR, you're doing them apart and in sort of isolation from each other. And so later, when you as a consumer are downloading something from Tone Junkie, you're going to download this IR and this thing, and you're gonna put it in, and it's going to sound like this. It's going to, you're going to, well, here, let me just turn this EQ off. And now I'm going to, wait, that turned the whole thing off. Let me, how do I just defeat this EQ? Well, here, I'll just reset the chain. And now we get this sort of thing. Okay, that's a tone, but I like the adjustments I made. I just think that's a great tone. it's a happy accident in a way, but it should work together. But because we don't know exactly how the amp's going to be set, how the microphone positions are going to be, you might come out with something like this. As someone who's mic'd up thousands of amplifiers, that instantly to me sounds like, okay, we put the cab in the booth and I ran back to the desk and I'm listening to get signal. And okay, great, there, it's working. Everything's working. Now I'm going to run back and adjust it. That's instantly what that sounds like to me, that extra bloated thing. I'm going to look at the settings on the amp and go, do I need more bass or less bass or whatever? Like, where's my settings? Did I kick the knobs as I was bringing it in from my car or whatever? So it's not surprising to me that it works in reverse. That when I have an amp that I captured at very neutral settings and then I apply an IR to it, it's like there's a mismatch. But when you have it all together, right? When you have it all together, amp and cab in one, I know exactly what I'm like creating and giving to you. You know what I'm saying? And you know exactly what you're downloading from me because you go, oh, HW, he's got Goldie. That is a bitchin' tone, all right? Excuse me. But that is a killer tone, and you know exactly what you're getting. Now, your guitar might not quite sound like Goldie, but there's no way if you have a Silver Sky, if you've got one of those new, like I got that green Telly that Fender sent me, modified, it's that modified vintage modified. No, that's a Marshall. Modern vintage? I can't. Anyway, it's those mechs. They're making them in Sonata. They got the new pickups. They sound phenomenal. There's no way if you have one of those guitars, right, or an American Strat or something, or a Sir, there's no way if you have something in that realm that you're going to download this and go, this sounds terrible. Now, there are still going to be variables. I know that this guitar, compared to my Sir Strat, both very high quality, both sought after instruments. Goldie is brighter. Goldie is snappier. Sometimes the Sir single coils, when you want to do the John Mayer bluesy stuff, you kind of go, they're a little bit muffled sounding. They're not quite as spanky as I would expect, but they match the humbucker in the guitar perfectly. So it's not about quality. It's more about characteristic. And I remember talking with Michael Britt a long time ago. We both agreed we like creating amp and cab things together because we can sort of put it all together, button it up, sign our name on it, put a nice little bow on it, and ship it out, right? Send it out. And now the only difference is your pickups, your fingers, things we can't overcome. But when it's IRs and this, and we're pairing IRs with somebody else who, they mic it super dark, so then their directs have the treble cranked, or maybe they put their thing at super neutral setting on the amp, and then they put the microphone right in the middle of the speaker. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Or maybe they dial in the amp for just an SM57, like kind of near the middle of the cone. That's going to be brighter than if somebody else has a fat head and a 57 off axis. They're going to dial up. They're going to turn on a bright knob, and it's not going to be at anywhere near as bright. Just like we're dealing with right here. Right? I hope that makes sense. It's up to you, but if you use direct and IR, you're probably going to find that you have way more possibilities because you got all these different IRs, right? Like I could come right in here and I could switch this IR up. Here, let me show you that real quick. I could come right here and I could switch this IR up. And here, let me go to this IR. And I'm going to go, that's warm. Here's mid. So now I'm changing this. Now it sounds like this. Here's warm. You're probably going to want headphones to really hear the difference there, but one's got a mid push, and the other has just like a high-end roll-off. And they're going to be different, and you're going to be able to mix and match and do different microphones and get all sorts of different curves. But you're going to have to work on the amp settings. And when you work on those amp settings, you're not destroying the authenticity. You then become the engineer in the studio who has a mic strip and who's EQing that microphone to be the best sort of match for that speaker. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. I've been HW.